Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rock Studios. I'm Stan Miller. I'm PR and Analyst Relations Manager for Rockwell Automation in the EMEA region. And I'm joined today by Kenneth Samuelsen. He is Chief Technology Officer and Technical Director at MTT. Kenneth, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Kenneth, we're here today to talk a little bit about how industry can turn cybersecurity compliance into resilience and a competitive advantage, particularly in the offshore energy space. But before we get into the topic, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company, please?
Yeah, sure. My name is Kenneth Samuelsen. I'm CTO at MTT. We are a Norwegian system integrator, panel builder, switchboard supplier. And we have our main office in just outside Bergen in Norway.
All right, fantastic. So Kenneth, based on our discussions, you've shared with us that MTT has continuously evolved its approach to risk and opportunity assessment when it comes to panel building and systems over the many decades. As we look to the future, what key trends do you see redefining this landscape of offshore operators?
Now, what we see is that the offshore operators, we have to approach them now with combining cybersecurity, safety, and operational efficiency. They must be addressed together, not isolated, and not in isolation. What we see is the main drivers for these operators is to go from reactive maintenance into more predictive and data-driven maintenance. We also see that safety is becoming a design parameter, not only as per requirement, but it's really have to be there in the design. We see that cybersecurity, we are facing new requirements like the NIS2 regulatory, and also the IEC 62443 standard. In MTT, we also are working very much on arc flash protection, which is also a safety feature that we see is being built into the systems on these offshore facilities. And third, I would say that finally, after many years in the offshore business, we see that standardization is gaining ground. So we see that it's more feasible now to provide and offer standardized solutions. They need to be a little bit adopted to meet the offshore requirements, but they know it doesn't need to be kind of tailor-made, bespoke, as we saw before.
Kenneth, you're talking about some really important issues here when we're talking about safety and security. With aging assets, tighter regulations that you've mentioned, and cyber threats all coming together, right? Which specific pain points are driving your customers to take action now? And how do you demonstrate ROI for a project that may have maybe a 5-year payback window?
Yeah, interesting question. We see that there are three converging pain points that we see. Of course, the technical risk from aging infrastructure will be a risk for the operators, and by kind of doing lifetime extension also on a shorter basis than 20 years as we normally would do for a new build, we see that we can actually re-establish the technical integrity of the equipment by using modern solutions. We see that the second pain is the kind of pressures coming from new regulations. And we see that cybersecurity, for instance, is not optional anymore. The regulations are there, they have to be followed. And that means also that it should not be there just for the protection, but it also means that the detection, the response, and recovery, according to the IEC standard, has to be present as well. I think the third pain is the resource situation offshore. We see that there are, in many cases, it can be difficult to getting the right technical resources on the offshore facilities. But we also see that many of these facilities, they are getting old, and it's a lot of maintenance and upgrade projects going on at the same time. So what we really see is limiting the access and to get into this project is what they call the POB, meaning the personnel on board limit. And what we see now is that a lot of operators or a lot of companies doing service and upgrades on these projects, they are facing the limit of the POB. So meaning that if we can find solutions that require less people on board while we're doing the upgrades and updates, that will be helpful for the client. And we also see that if we can provide solutions that don't require that much operational resources during your lifetime, that will also increase the available POB on that installation.
Those are some interesting challenges to navigate as you describe that. That's really interesting, Kenneth. Let me ask you this. Innovation in areas like digital twins, shared data environments, they promise leaner approval cycles, but potentially adoption could be slow. What cultural or technical shifts are needed to move collaboration to these more immersive models, and what benefits do you see early adopters being able to take advantage of?
What we see is, of course, that new tools and digital twins, as we use, and we have adopted that on every project now. We make digital twins, and we are making 3D models of all our projects. But we see, as you say in your question, there is a cultural gap still. We see that between the operators and also between the maintenance suppliers, VMOs of the oil operators, they tend to stick to the old way of doing it. So we still have procedures for documentation, review cycles, also what we call LCI, life cycle information, milestones, are following the same approach as 10 years ago. Meaning that we are sending in drawings and documents, yes, electronically, but still, it is the old way. And what we see when we manage to actually work on the digital twins, when we are working on the 3D models together, we are really reducing the approval cycles. We are reducing the number of errors that we find on upcoming FATs after these reviews. And we see also that the oil operators are now kind of pushing in this type of knowledge when they are hiring new document controllers, when they are hiring new technical people. So I think we are seeing the shift. Of course, we think it's going much too slowly, but I think that will help that approval cycle a lot when we come to that.
Kenneth, that's great perspective. So MTT delivered an offshore installation of some PowerFlex motor control centers, I believe integrating some medium voltage drives in Norway. What did that project teach you about closing the gap between, let's say, off-the-shelf solutions and more custom demands of offshore operations?
It's also a very interesting question, and going back to what we discussed just earlier here, that there is gaining ground for standardization, meaning also that it is being opened for industrial standardized solution also into the oil and gas industry. But what we see is still a big gap. An offshore project like this is having a major number of specifications, package specification with strict requirements on cybersecurity, on EMC, on safety integrity level, etc., etc. We also see that on this project where we have a liquid cooled drive, we have to interface with the process seawater cooling systems on that particular installation. And that's where we kind of come in together with Rockwell. Rockwell will produce and document a standard solution as far as possible. we have on our hand a large number of specifications that we need to fulfill, or at least get acceptance of getting some kind of deviations to the original specifications. And we also have the documentation, where we want to use the Rockwell standard literature and documentation as far as possible, but then we, as a system integrator, can make amendments, prefaces to these documents, so that also the document requirements of the project or of the installation is fulfilled. And I think that has been a kind of a groundbreaking project for us, and I think also for Rockwell. And it has been a success so far. The equipment is delivered. We are still in the end phase of the cybersecurity assessment and reports, and we are also finalizing the documentation. And we expect this to be going offshore next year or the year after. So at present, the hardware is delivered and at the yard.
It's an interesting example. Thanks for giving us the detail behind that. Looking 3 to 5 years in the future, what innovations or partnerships will be most important to ensure that offshore assets stay secure, productive, and potentially ready for a low-carbon future? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think all those keywords there are important. They need to be producing oil and gas still on a very efficient manner, but they do have to also to reach the targets of being carbon neutral. So the development in Norway is that almost every offshore facility is now getting power from shore, meaning that there is and will be a great number of upgrades offshore, taking away the turbines, making them ready for a cable from shore, rectifiers, everything. A lot of controls, a lot of new switchboards and systems that, of course, we see as a business opportunity that we can contribute. We have these switchboards and solutions already, and we are, of course, willing also to play part in the next 20 or 50 years of Norwegian oil and gas industry. It's not that.
Excellent. Kenneth, thank you for sharing your perspective as well as some of the interesting projects that you and your team are working on. Fascinating stuff. So thank you for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about industrial automation and digital transformation, visit rockwellautomation.com.